constructive rest position. Your feet will be kind of out toward the edge of your mat, your knees leaning against one another. And I'm going to invite you to start by taking both hands and laying them on your chest. So in kind of that heart space. You might find that you want a pillow for your head. And as you settle here, I'm going to invite you to just draw your attention to what you feel under your hands in the heart space. Maybe it's the breath. Maybe it's the beat of your heart. As you fix your attention here, I invite you to let everything else just fall away. So whatever thoughts you brought into the room with you, whatever emotions, as you keep your attention focused here on your heart space, I'm going to invite you to bring the color green to mind. Green is the color that's often associated with the heart space, with feelings of love towards self and toward others. Maybe you imagine this bright green emerald light pulsing in time with your breath or with your heartbeat. I'm going to invite you to bring to mind any thoughts or judgments or shoulds or can'ts that you've had as you go into this new year. And as those things pop into your mind, I'm going to invite you to spread that warm, green, bright light toward those thoughts, bathing yourself in that idea of compassion, of love for yourself. I'll stay here for just another minute. So begin to let that focused attention go. I'm going to offer to you to lift your arms straight up toward the ceiling. And then cross them and let them just drape across the top part of your torso. So feeling the weight of your arms with the feet slightly wider than hip distance apart, maybe out toward the edge of the mat. I'm going to invite you to allow the knees to fall toward the right and the head to turn toward the left. And as you inhale, come up through center. And on the exhale, allow the knees to fall to the left and the head to turn to the right. Coming up through center, allowing the knees to fall to the right, the head to turn to the left. Coming up through center, allowing the knees to fall to the left, the head to turn to the right. Continue in this pattern in time with your own breath for maybe 3 or 4 more rounds on either side. Opening up the spine with gentle twisting. Feeling the weight of the arms across the heart space. And if it's not a comfortable place for your arms, you can move them. They don't have to stay there. After you've leveled out both sides or evened out both sides, go ahead and bring the feet directly under the knees, pretty close to the hips, so that maybe when you reach down along the sides of the body, you could very lightly even touch your heels with your fingers, if that works. If they don't reach, they don't reach. That's okay. Go ahead and place the palms down into the mat. Place a little bit more energy into the heels. And on an inhale, we'll lift the hips towards the sky for a bridge pose. So holding here for 5 rounds of breath. After the 5th breath, you can lower the hips, maybe windshield wiper the knees a few times back and forth. Come back into stillness. Maybe step the feet just an inch or 2 away from the hips. Ground again into the heels, press up into bridge pose. And this time, maybe you can pull the mat apart with your hands. So grabbing the edges of the mat and pulling the mat apart with your hands while you're in this bridge pose. Get a little bit more of a chest opener. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll lower. Windshield wiper the knees a few times. Once you come back to center, on the next inhale, we'll push up into a bridge pose. This time, perhaps your hands could meet underneath your hips. So maybe your hands could clasp one another if they reach. If not, perhaps you could just move the hands toward one another. Notice how this kind of forces the hips a little bit higher, a heart space a little bit higher. Hold for 2 more breaths here. Lower on an exhale. Go ahead and pull the knees in toward the chest for Apanasana. Rocking side to side on your low back. And you'll notice if you pull the knees in closer, you'll feel a little bit of a massage higher on your back. If you let the knees be a little bit further away from the torso, You'll notice a little bit of the massage lowering your back. And next time your knees go over to the right, go ahead and let them fall all the way to the right and open the left shoulder toward the mat. For a different kind of twist, a little bit higher in the back. Breathing into that left side body. Inhaling through center, allowing the knees to fall to the left, the right shoulder to melt toward the mat. The right arm can extend long beside you, or it can be placed wherever feels comfortable. Inhaling up through center, back to Apanasana. And to have a little bit of fun, where we're going to end up is a boat pose. So what can be fun is to try to rock and roll up and down the length of your spine a few times. And as you gain momentum, perhaps you can roll up onto the sit bone and find yourself in a boat pose. Perhaps. If not, it's okay. Opening the heart space toward the space where the place where the ceiling and the wall meet. Remembering that your boat pose can be lots of different things. Racking the shoulders down the back. One more inhale here. And then we'll cross the feet in Sukhasana and come straight over into a forward. Allowing the head and the shoulders to hang heavy, feeling the stretch in the back of the hips. We'll walk the hands back toward the knees, tip back onto the sit bones, bring the feet out in front for another boat pose. So taking this place kind of in the middle of your tummy, right beneath the sternum, and leading with that forward, allowing the shoulders to fall back along the back. 2 more breaths. These look great. And we'll cross the opposite foot in front and go ahead and forward fold. Leading with the heart space and hinging at the hips. Walking the hands back toward the feet. We'll extend the left leg out long and keep the right foot in toward the inner thigh of the left leg. Go ahead and take your right hand to your left knee. Which flip flop? So the knee that's crossed, that's bent, take the opposite hand to that. Yeah, left hand to the right knee. There we go. I'm opposite. Flip your hands. So reach with your left hand to, there you go. Sitting up nice and tall, lifting the right arm up overhead. There we go. And now laterally stretching over toward your leg. Maybe finding a little bit of a stretch on the inside of that extended leg. Taking care to notice where the shoulder is. Can it relax away from the ear? One more breath here. Inhale, we'll come up tall, lift both arms up overhead, twist toward the extended leg, place both hands on either side of it, and then forward fold over the extended leg. So you have a little bit of a twist here. One more breath here. We'll walk the hands back up to seated. Go ahead and switch legs. So taking the right leg out beside you, the left foot in toward the inside of the right leg. Opposite hand to knee, whatever that is. So whichever knee is bent, put the other hand there. Then lift the other hand up high and laterally stretch over toward that extended knee, extended leg. Taking care again to notice the shoulder and whether it's crept up toward the ear. Can you offer it the opportunity to relax away from the ear? Inhaling to come up tall with both arms up overhead, twisting toward that extended leg, letting the hands find either side of it, and forward folding over the extended leg. Walking the hands back up to seated. Go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together. And they can be out farther wide, they can be in closer. But I'm going to invite you to engage the inside of the thighs a little bit. So like sometimes my hips are not open enough to do this, but sometimes we can just let the legs fall. Like they can fall a little bit, but then engage maybe like 15% back up to engage some of these muscles to protect the hips. Sitting up nice and tall, hinging at the hips, leading with the heart space, and we'll forward fold in this Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Come up to seated on an inhale, and then we'll come over into table. So as you find yourself in your table, notice first the hands. Notice where they naturally go and whether that's where you want them to be or not. Grounding down through the full palm of the hand under the shoulders. Rotating those triceps inward a little bit to find some engagement between the shoulder blades. Finding the hips directly under the knees directly under the hips. And on an inhale, we'll allow the belly to drop and the tail to rise for a cow pose. And then on the exhale, we'll arch the back and drop the head and drop the tail for a cat. Inhaling to cow. Exhaling to cat. Inhaling to cow. Exhaling to cat. Continuing in this for just a few more rounds of breath, moving in whatever direction your spine feels that it would like to move. Maybe you break out of the traditional box, move in some circles or some curves, move further back or further forward, just giving your body the space that it needs. Coming back into stillness with that neutral spine, zipping up the lower part of the core. So taking a deep breath in and blowing out through your mouth like you're blowing through a straw will help to engage the lower part of the core. Tuck the toes. And on an inhale, we'll just lift the knees about an inch and hover for 2 breaths. And we'll drop the knees, lift the left arm toward the sky, and then feed it underneath the right arm for your tangled cat pose. So you can allow the left ear or the left temple to find the mat. If that feels comfortable to you, that right hand can stay in front of the face, or it can extend long, or it can wrap around your back. Whatever feels good to you. Bringing the right hand back in front of the face, wherever it was. Coming back up into table. Noticing for a moment how maybe the two sides of your body feel a little different at the moment. Zipping up the lower core one more time, tucking the toes. And on an inhale, we'll lift the knees just an inch. One more time. This time, perhaps we could stay for 3 breaths. Allowing the knees to find the earth. We'll lift the right arm up toward the sky, feet it underneath the left, allowing the right ear, the right temple, the right side of the head to find the earth. The left hand can stay in front of the face. It can extend long. One more breath here. Bring the left hand back in front of the face, push back up into table. Go ahead and take the hands, a generous hand's breadth forward, hands distance forward. Shift the shoulders out over the hands and find yourself in this plank position. So this is a supported plank or a modified plank. But even in this, can you find the engagement in your core? Can you rotate the triceps in toward one another? Find that the back of the heart space lifts a little bit more toward the ceiling. One more breath here. Go ahead and bend the elbows and come all the way down to your mat. From here, we'll bend the knees and just windshield wiper the legs in this prone position. Come back into stillness, let the feet find the earth. Push up into Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx pose, your elbows are underneath your shoulders. Yep. Notice where your shoulders are. So it's very easy in Sphinx pose to sink. Can you roll those shoulders down the back, push into your elbows, lift up through the navel, lift the navel up toward the spine, and focus your gaze on something in front of you. Hold here, noticing how much is involved in holding this pose. Good. On your next exhale, let the left shoulder fall forward and look back over your right shoulder for a twist in the upper part of the back and some in the left side body. One more big inhale and exhale here. We'll inhale back through center. Find your stable Sphinx again. So pulling the core in toward the spine, lifting it up toward the spine, the shoulders down the back. And then on an exhale, we'll let the right shoulder fall forward and look over the left shoulder. One more big inhale and exhale here. Inhale, come back to Sphinx. Find yourself in the stable position one more time. And allow the forehead to find the mat. Place the hands under the shoulders and press back into a child's pose. So if you'd like, you can bring the toes together and the knees wide. And I'm going to invite you wherever your knees are, or they can stay just straight under your body, to really inch those hands forward and find that opposition between your hands pulling forward and your hips shifting back, creating more space in the back body. One more big inhale and exhale here. Perhaps you inhale big and audible exhale out. Press into the hands, look forward, and begin to walk the hands back toward the knees. So from here, we'll take our bolster and lay it, things rolling all over the place, laterally across your mat. I'm going to offer a supported pigeon pose, but forward. So if you like to just do pigeon without the bolster, you can do pigeon without the bolster, or I like to do it with the bolster. So what you'll do is you'll bring your right foot in front, kind of sit your hips on the bolster. Bring that right knee as best you can, or the right shin parallel to the front of the mat. Sitting up nice and tall on the bolster. So perhaps you have enough flexion in your back that you can place your hands on the bolster and sit up. That's a lot in the low back. So even having them on the mat in front of you, lifting the heart space forward first. So pigeon is a back bend to start with, and then it can be a forward bend, forward fold. Inhaling big here. And then as you exhale, perhaps you can start to soften toward the earth. Placing a block under the head, a block under the, Christy, do you want blocks for your arms? Here, I'll bring them. You stay there. So you can put the blocks under your forearms, or under your hands, or under your head. But remembering that we move with the breath. So inhaling to bring additional space into your body, and then exhaling to deepen into this posture, to release a little bit more into the posture. Maybe you notice that as the muscles release, you as well can release a little bit closer toward the earth. One more breath here. And then we'll press into the hands to begin to walk the hands back toward the feet. Roll over onto that right hip. Take both knees behind you, and you can either push back into a child's pose with the hands draped over the bolster. Sometimes that feels really good, or just come to a table. Whatever's going to help you to feel, even it out a little bit. We'll press into the hands, come back up onto the knees, bringing the left leg this time in front of the bolster. Sitting the left hip down on the bolster, extending the right leg long behind you. The left shin, as best you can, is parallel to the front of the mat. Sitting up nice and tall first, lifting the heart space. And breathing into the front of the body. Look awesome. And on an exhale, begin to walk the hands forward, allowing the hands or the forearms to find the block or the mat. allowing yourself to ease into the pose with each breath. Stay here for about 20 seconds more. One more breath. And then place the hands on the earth. Begin to push yourself out of it, rolling onto that right hip, bringing both knees behind you on the bolster, pressing back into child's pose just for a moment. With those hands draped across the bolster, even it out a little bit. Inhaling back up to a seat on your knees. I'm going to offer you either a heart opener or supported fish posture. So, heart opener, you can take the bolster. Well, the bolster's already across your mat, but taking the bolster kind of beneath where your armpits are. Oh. And if that's too far for your head, because it's too far for a lot of our necks, you can place a block under your head. If the bolster, sometimes the bolster is too high or just not comfortable, you can basically do the same thing with a block. So you would, if you're using blocks, you would place a block kind of right across at your bra strap or where your bra strap would be. Oh, my other block is far away from me. So take a moment to get settled in this position. Shift around, move around. You might find that it feels better with the knees bent or them straight. But take a moment to get settled. Now, as you settle here, allow gravity to begin to hold your body down into the earth, opening the heart space toward the sky. With each breath becoming a little bit softer. We'll stay here for about another 90 seconds. For the next few inhales and exhales, begin to come out of this pose. So the easiest way to do that is to roll to one side and kind of roll off the bolster, push the bolster out of the way, and then come back to rest on the earth. And we'll set up for Shavasana, which can be in any posture that feels good to your body. So perhaps it's going back into constructive rest. Perhaps it's setting up for reclined bound angle. If you get to a place and you feel like you need some more things, just let me know. So So wherever you have found yourself, find yourself here. Perhaps returning the attention to the heart space. Noticing again if judgments or thoughts crept into your mind over the last 45 minutes. Can you offer some of that bright green, warm light to those places that you don't feel so great about sometimes? As the body settles here, allow the attention to go where it goes. But if it starts to travel too far, perhaps you gently invite it back to the heart space, to that pulsing green light. For the next few inhales and exhales, maybe let the inhales become a little bit more intentional. Bringing a little bit of life back into the body, wiggling fingers, toes, rolling the head from side to side, making some larger movements, either coming to rest on your side or maybe settling back into stillness on your back. This reading is from The Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele. She says, we can have hearts that are full of love for others and intentions to love that are pure. But the truth is, we will express that love for others by treating them the same way we treat ourselves. Love lies at the core of nonviolence and begins with our love of self. Not a love that is egocentric, but a love that is forgiving and lenient, a love that sees the humor in the imperfections and accepts the fullness of the human expression. Only when we find this love for all parts of ourselves can we begin to express fully the love that wells up inside of us for others. In the next several breaths, we can transition up to a seat facing the front of the room. Bring the hands to heart center, allowing the gaze to drift gently toward the fingertips, allowing a moment of gratitude and love to rise up. Namaste. Thanks, lady. Thank you.